All right, so hopefully you took a minute after the last video to make a crumpled piece of paper like I have. If you don't have the stuff at home, that's totally fine. We're gonna do it here at school. Next, I'm gonna take my spray bottle of water, and I'm gonna be spraying this piece of paper that is our land, and we're gonna see what happens to the orange coloring that I did up on the high places. You guys ready? I'm gonna get it pretty wet.
You're saturating it.
I am. The water is getting very wet. That paper is totally saturated. All right. Miss Kathleen, can you zoom in a little bit on what's happening here? So if you look down here in these low places, do you see how all the water traveled from the top down to the low places? And I'm not sure if you can see this at home, but the water is kind of orange colored down there because it traveled over the orange parts up at the top and it went down to these low places, and that's where it's kind of collected or accumulated. So we can see some water accumulated over here, some water accumulated over there. Okay? So this is how our land and our water works. The water travels across the land and goes down and accumulates in those low places. Today, we have a material called the land and water forms that we're going to use to look at different ways that water accumulates. Okay? We're going to start over here. This is our island. An island is a body of land that is completely surrounded by water. And if I pour the water, even if I pour it right on top of that island, you're going to notice that the water travels down and accumulates around the island. Okay?
It's surrounding it.
It is. The island is completely surrounded by water.
See.
Now, we're going to come all the way over here to a water form. I'm sorry. Over here, we have land that is going to completely surround the water. This is called a lake. And even if I pour the water over here on the land, you're going to see that it's going to want to travel down into the lake. Okay? So a lake is a body of water completely surrounded by land. Capiche?
Capash.
All right. Over here, we have another land form. This land form is called a peninsula. A peninsula is a piece of land that stretches out into the water. So it's surrounded, but not completely surrounded because it stretches out into the water. So I'm going to pour in my water, and you're going to see that it's going to accumulate around the peninsula. Okay? See how that water is traveling? It's surrounding most of the peninsula, but not completely. All right, let's take a look at our matching water form. Over here, we have what's called a gulf. A gulf is a body of water that stretches into a piece of land. So if I pour my water, just like with all the other water forms, it's going to travel towards the bottom, accumulate low down, and we can see that the gulf is the body of water stretching into the piece of land.
Miss Ginny, I noticed that these are the water forms. Is that what you called them?
Yeah.
And that those are the land forms.
Good noticing.
Interesting.
Miss Kathleen, let's see if that pattern continues.
All right.
All right, over here we have a land form called the isthmus. An isthmus is a narrow body of land that connects to larger pieces of land. So if you use your imagination, there's another piece of land over here. This is the isthmus, our narrow strip of land, connecting it to another piece of land. And even if I pour my water onto that isthmus, the water is going to want to travel and accumulate at the low places. All right, there's our isthmus, a narrow strip of land connecting to larger bodies of land.
Cool.
Come on over here so that you can see the matching water form. This water form is called a strait. A strait is a narrow strip of water that connects two larger bodies of water. And again, even if I pour that water up on the land, what's going to happen?
It's going to accumulate.
That's right. It's going to accumulate down in the strait. All right.
Wish I would have learned this lesson when I was in 3rd grade. What's next, Miss Ginny?
All right, over here we're going to come back to our land forms. This land form is called an archipelago. An archipelago is a group of islands close together. So if I pour water, let's pretend there's a big storm happening. Again, that water is accumulating around those islands, And because that's a group of islands close together, we call it an archipelago.
Archipelago. I never heard that word before.
Oh my goodness.
For real.
Come on over here. We have a matching water form called a chain of lakes. You guys might not know this, but here in Wisconsin, we actually live very close to a chain of lakes. If you've ever seen Lake Michigan is close to a bunch of other lakes called the Great Lakes, and that's a chain of lakes. So I'm gonna pour my water. We're gonna see how it accumulates in the low places, filling up our chain of lakes here. All right, that's the hardest one to fill up. All right, so I'm gonna come down here so you can see my face. We're gonna give you a couple of different follow-up works. So if you check over in the playlists for this channel, there'll be a playlist with a couple different follow-up works where you can see more examples of land and water forms, including some examples in real life. And if you want some follow-up work, you can text or call Miss Danny or Miss Ginny, and we'll give you some follow-up works about the Great Lakes chain of lakes. See you later.